All right, I'm ready.
Hello, we are on the air. Welcome to Extra Connections with James Lott Jr. I am James Lott Jr. And you know, my show was on the After Party radio for a year, and then they unceremoniously let me go. They just closed the business, and I don't know what's going on. So I brought it back to JLJ Media. So I'm doing it again. I've been doing the show for about 4 years. I'm doing it back. And you know, my motto is I'm trying to connect you with people, places, things, and ideas. That's the whole connection idea. And I said, if I'm going to bring the show back, there's one person I want to start this off with, somebody that I admire. It's a new person in my universe. I decided to bring him on. He is a host, actor, comedian. I know him through the AfterBuzz TV connection. I reached out to him several weeks ago and connected with him. And we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on and what he's been up to and what he's doing. My new friend, James Maple. Hi, James.
Hi, everybody. Hey, James.
You have no idea pre-show what's been going on, but that's the magic of doing shows. You don't get to know what's going on before pre-show. Yes. Stuff was happening. We're here.
Yeah.
So James, in all seriousness, you came across my desk. So as I say that, it's an old term, my desk. I'm an OG at AfterBuzz. I've been there like almost 6 years. I don't know all the new people. I mean, you guys come through there. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Unless someone comes to me and says, "You're James. I know who you are," and they talk to me. And I've talked to a lot of younger hosts. And I love talking to younger hosts. But then there are people who kind of come into my orbit, and I'm like, who's that? And so then I will kind of look in there. I'm like that old man in the corner. Who's on my lawn? What's going on? And what I saw from you, I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Seriously, I like the way you present yourself. I like the energy you have, and we're going to go into specifics. Some of the things you came up with this last couple of weeks, especially. But I like the way you present yourself. I do. It gives me hope for the future.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm just out here just doing me and living life. It's a weird time to be alive, and it's a strange kind of place that we're in, but I think the best thing we can do is kind of use this time that we have down to learn and to grow and challenge ourselves. So I appreciate the love, and I've seen you out there doing your thing too. As a fellow James, himself, I just gotta see out my boy. But yeah, I do appreciate the love you've shown me and the platform that you allowed me to be on as well.
Yeah, no, you come across as a person who puts heart into whatever he does. I do the same thing. I mean, it could be an after show, it could be something silly, it could be something serious. I seem like you're a person who actually puts 110% into stuff. And is that kind of accurate? Are you a person who's just like, whatever it is, you go in?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to adjust my collar because it needs to look 100%. So I'm like, man, let's get a little bit of this. Okay. So no, yeah. That's been my motto, especially now. I know I keep referencing back what's going on right now, but because I worked in restaurants for many years. Yeah.
I've done it. I know.
Stories. Yeah. So, but with all that said, with that long-winded statement said, I think that having this downtime of not working in the restaurant because the majority of us are unemployed, especially here in California, it has allowed me to invest 100% of myself into something. I feel like oftentimes we get lost in living someone else's dream, and I think that's for a lot of us, and not even within just the restaurant industry, it's become a reality where you're forced to clock in every day, do that 9 to 5, and it can become daunting and wear you down. So during this quarantine time, I've tried my best to invest myself into something else that was more meaningful than myself. And that has been protesting and fighting for, Black rights. I wasn't just Black 2 weeks ago. We've been Black forever. But, now not having a job and living where I am essentially in Hollywood, I could hear protests and be like, okay, time to get my sign and let's go, let's get out here. So, I think I would accredit this downtime for the reason why I've been able to give so much of myself to the movement.
Let me start with this. Let me ask you a question, and I'm curious to see what your thought is, because I've been Black 51 years, and a lot of the issues—
You look good.
Thank you. I try.
51 years.
Black don't crack.
I see you, buddy. Yes, sir.
I'm trying. I drink a lot of water.
Me too.
Yeah. I'll excuse you with that one too. So, but I say that to mean that a lot of the problems that are happening now, I was marching for 30 years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A lot of problems are happening now. I was listening to Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" album 40 years ago, and it's the same stuff, basically. So I want to ask you, because I'm very curious, because I'm assuming are you Gen Z or are you a millennial? I can't tell.
I think I'm a millennial. I
Okay.
think.
Okay. You know, we all look good for age, so I don't know what I know.
I'm very honest. I'm 33.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're millennial. You're millennial.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's kind of like in that weird like.
Yeah. Which
What
I
do
think
you call?
yeah, I think you're millennial.
But
So I'm curious for you, what does being Black actually mean to you?
it's a good question. One of the first thing that came to mind, honestly, was heritage. Was history. I was a I have a degree in government politics and a degree in history and a minor in African American studies. So being Black to me has this historical reverence to it. So to me, it's about honoring our past and not forgetting it. And then also fighting for the truth of our past, because I find that oftentimes a lot of people have become, I don't want to say desensitized. The history has been whitewashed and diluted in a sense where we're telling this narrative that one, frankly, isn't true, and second, is almost unfathomable to believe. So I would say, to me, my first pillar of being Black is honoring those who came before us and what they've done, because if it weren't for their sacrifices, I wouldn't be able to stand where I am and even ponder their existence.
I'm so glad you said it, because a lot of younger people, I have personally been offended, being attacked, that I didn't do enough, that my generation didn't do enough. And I had to explain just what you just said. I mean, the fact you can say that to me actually is progress, because I was the first Black person in many things back in the 80s. I was the only Black person in many things in the 90s. That was not that long ago. I mean, it was not that long ago. The fact that I actually got the job was political enough sometimes. You know what I mean? I lost jobs because I was Black and had no recourse to even do anything about it. I didn't get promotions because I was Black. But I'll be told, well, if you get the promotion as manager, this is in retail and food service, it would change the face of our company. I mean, it'd become like this kind of urban company.
Wow.
Like, if I'm brown, that changes the face of the company if I'm the manager. I mean, they would say something like to me, and say, we'll give you the money and we'll give you the hours. Like, but I want the title. Like, I want the title. That's more important. I mean, I want the money, of course, too. But I want the title. And there was one job that I quit. They wouldn't give me the title. They would give me everything else but the title, and I quit. And I tell the younger kids today that I did that kind of stuff, and many people like me did that kind of stuff. Going into the corporate world, going into TV, all this stuff. That was what we did. So now it is your turn to kind of continue that. So I'm glad you said that. Sometimes like some of the younger folks just kind of diss me all the time. I'm like, I did. Trust me, I was marching. So trust me, I was doing stuff. Trust me, back then.
I wholly agree. And there is. I can't talk today. There's even a moment for me where I feel disconnected from my generation and even the kids younger than me, because I think that they've fallen victim to that, like, diluting of history. And I can't forget I'm forgetting the Latin phrase. Ignorantium ad ignorum. I can't think of it. But basically what the phrase is, it's kind of like, it's basically saying, because you don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Argumentum ad ignorantium. That's what it is.
Okay.
Argumentum ad ignorantium. It's like the evidence of the existence of evidence of the evidence of existence. In that, the example that I always tell people is, just because you haven't seen an alien doesn't mean aliens don't exist. I kind of adopted that same mentality when it comes to history and historical preservation. Just because I wasn't around for something doesn't mean that it didn't happen, and the ramifications of those actions don't affect me to this day. So let's apply that to our present setting and think about the things we're doing in this moment, because our future selves are going to look back and say, what the hell were you doing but complaining or citing the previous generation about the things that they didn't do? So I even have a disconnect with my generation where I'm like, just because you all weren't around for these things doesn't mean they don't affect you. And that I extend that same notion to white people as well. When they say, I didn't own slaves. Okay, that might be true.
Right.
That might be true, but you still benefit from the system that your forefathers created, and I still don't. And I think that needs to be acknowledged as well.
Great point. I think it's for any, see, I don't say the word minority anymore. I got rid of that word in my vocabulary because we're not minor. So I say maybe subsets, or I say use other words, and I say I think any or oppressed communities, any of the oppressed or people who are not of privileged communities. That's the thing with people who are of privilege, because they just don't see it. I didn't personally do this to you, so it must not be. I'm like, well, that's not the point. I always say that, what I do affects James Maple. What James Maple does affects my cousin. What my cousin does affects somebody. It doesn't matter if we know each other or don't know each other. There's a rippling effect that people just seem to, it's out of their purview. They don't seem to get that. It's like they can't, the blinders are on. But no, I see this, I know that happens. Well, this happens to you, and that happens to you, and that happens to you. And all collectively affects society and how we're seen in media, how we're seen by police, how we're seen, how we're seen in songs, how we're seen in art. I mean, like it affects laws. It affects everything.
That reminds me of a course I took in college. It was called Afro-Diasporic Dialogue. It's a conversation that African descended people have had for generations, and that you can trace the treatment of Afro-Cubans and Afro-Caribbeans and Jamaicans and Haitians and Puerto Ricans and I'm Puerto Rican and Black and white in Guatemala myself. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We.
Yeah, but me too. Literally, me too.
So yeah, us. Yes. So, but there is a conversation that those African descendant peoples in the Caribbean and African descendant peoples and the Americans were having. They were never talking to each other, but they had a similar circumstance. Their timelines intersected in a way where it was undeniable that there was something happening in these two countries, completely separated from each other, but they had a conversation. There was a dialogue. There was an Afro-diasporic dialogue that they had, and that reminded me of that when you were just speaking of.
All my shows, people understand that I talk about the village. My fans know this. I'm like, because you're part of my village, James. I mean, my village. I come from that mentality of that the village supports each other. So the village doesn't work for each other. The village is us. That's the village. The elders, teach the young, and the young help the middle, and the middle help. Everybody does their part. And I felt like for the first time in a long time during this unrest, the village was happening. It was one of the first times in a long time. I was like, you know what? The village is coming together on some level here. Okay, I see this. I see people I just haven't seen in years out there protesting. People I see in years promoting this and doing it. I'm like, oh, okay. That's funny because I'm all about lifting each other up, sharing knowledge and paying it forward. That's one of my mottos. And I'm always talking about that. I'm like, I felt like for the first time in a long time, we're actually doing that. Finally.
That's an excellent point. And I've noticed that myself, and I'm reticent to cling on to that because this is not the first time that we've had you and I have never had this conversation, but also this is not the first time we've had this conversation. You know what I mean? So I'm reticent to cling on to that because it's like, yes, we are making change, and yes, people are listening, and yes, I do believe people are reevaluating their choices and their words and their actions and even checking others along the way. But this is not the first time this has happened, guys. This is not the first time a BLM movement has happened. This is not the first time a Black life has been slain and someone has gotten away with it. This is not the first time that, as James just said, this is not the first time that Black people have been marching for Black rights. And this presumably won't be the last time. So you go into it with this air of optimism, but the pessimism still sets in because you have the historical reference of, damn, that was not that long ago that, what was it, Virginia versus Love, interracial marriage was illegal, not just a couple weeks ago, closely related, but you could fire someone for being gay or being transgender a couple weeks ago in 2020. So I have to tell my generation, pump your brakes a little bit. I know y'all want this change, and I know you want it to happen right now, but in order for us to have radical change, we have to, act radically. And I don't know if the radicalness that we're acting now is enough to create the change that we want. So I say take these baby steps and really focus on as grassroots of a movement as you can as possible, because overreaching, I think, will cloak the real issue, and it will dilute the real issue as well.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I will admit this. I'm Gen X, and I raised 2 daughters and the whole thing and everything, and they're your generation. Is it partially our fault though that we gave you guys everything because we didn't have nothing? Gen X, we were like our baby parents we were latchkey kids. They're busy working. They told us you have to work hard to get whatever you want. We were told not everybody wins. We were told it takes a long time to get something. But then I feel like we taught you guys on some level you can work hard, you can get it, you can be anything you want to be. I mean, does that contribute to part of the problem of a lot of your generation wanting it now and listening to it now? Is that part of the problem?
I think the problem lies within the individuals of my generation. I think that there's a split. At least I see a split. I wouldn't dare purse my lips together to blame my elders for our current condition ever. And I don't know if I can curse on your show, but
Do it.
fuck anyone who says that, because that to me is complete and utter bullshit. That is you copping out on the responsibility that you have as a present Black person in this world. That is you passing the buck to the generation that came before you. And again, like I said a moment ago, the only reason you have the ability to even criticize the generation that came before you is because of their sacrifices. So fuck anyone who says anything of that nature. Again, as a student of history, I am personally offended to hear something like that. And I can imagine that in the future, if I hear someone say that to me as my junior, I will let them know very impolitely as their future senior that that's not going to fly with me. So back to the question, I don't think, obviously, I don't think that your generation has anything in the situation but honor. I don't think that your generation has anything in the situation but the only responsibility you all bear is passing down that knowledge to my generation. That is the only criticism I could even think of to cite your generation. I think it's a cop out, and I think it's very selfish of someone that's my age to look back on the actions of our forefathers and the sacrifices that they made collectively to point fingers. It's childish, but it is, like you said a moment ago, it kind of does fit into the narrative that exists now with kids. It's like, you have Amazon and Yelp and Facebook and these instant gratification, and you think these things should be happening immediately. No, like sometimes things take time, and especially if you want them done right, you can't just rush into things, especially things like this.
It's too important. It's just too important. We want to make sure that I tell people all the time, I said, if you're of voting age, you have to read on the local level what's going on and start in your backyard. I give the example that on my block here where I live, Inglewood's changing. I live in Inglewood. So Inglewood's changing. I have the stadium around the corner being built, the metro being built, it's a lot of stuff changing. They wanted to make our street a major thoroughfare. And we were like, no, that's not going to happen. So I went to the town meetings. My block, we went to they give you papers all the time on your fence or on your door saying, tell me, they announce it to you. You can always find them out. I'm going, So we went. What we did was we got them to A, not making a major street, and B, we got permit parking. Now we have parking on the street all the time. My sister's 2 blocks over, they can't find parking. It's crazy over there. I'm like, but see, we went to the local level and made change happen, and that's where it starts. I think, but you have to do the grunt work. You kind of have to you have to sit in that meeting for 3 hours. I mean, it's not going to happen in 5 minutes or 9 minutes or 10 minutes. You have to sit there and maybe be bored for a little bit and then get your turn. You did government studies, you understand. So I'm like, a lot of stuff isn't exciting. I mean, I've been to government meetings, they're not exciting, but they're important. And us as Black folks, we kind of have to do some of that stuff, don't we? Just to kind of make things happen.
I wholly agree. I think that we should be trying to find a thrill in politics again. I think we should be looking for that thrill in local elections again, because like you said, that is where your day-to-day is going to change. 45 in the White House now, his secret multi-chin villain, Mitch McConnell, has been filling judges, very, very conservative judges. Those are the same judges you all have to answer to for parking tickets, for sexual assault cases, for drug charges. These local elections literally affect your day-to-day life. Like James just said, the only reason he got parking was because he made an attempt at a local level to make change. And that was something for as small as parking. So think about marijuana possession, the amounts and this and that, or think about you opening a boys and girls club in your neighborhood. You're going to have to go through these people that you have the power to elect to enact the change that you want. So that, like, we cannot emphasize enough of like how important grassroots elections are and local engagement is.
I do. And also, you need to read things because wording is very important.
Mm-hmm.
It may seem okay when you read it at first, but really read it. And because there may be some wording in there that's tricky that will trip it up, and then it's against you. And when you're cited for something like, well, how did this happen? Well, did you read the writing? Did you vote for something that you thought you understood by just the title? Like, did you really read what inside with the paragraphs inside? You have to do that work. It's hard work, but you have to do it. You want proper change to happen. You have to fucking do it. So I look at that. Something that you did that when you were doing your activism, you chose to do something that I thought was very compassionate on the way you did it. Your Love James that you did, a series on IG. I love the way that's how I actually kind of contacted you, because I was reading, I'm like, wow, this is actually, I love this. What was the thought process behind creating that to explain your experiences that you're having right now?
It started from a place of therapy, as I said in past interviews. It kind of got to a point where I protested for 8 days in a row, and every day I'd get home and you've been filled with so much like rage and yet love and passion to do something. I had to let that out in some way, and I think that the impetus that really started it was that blackout Tuesday, hashtag blackout Tuesday, that happened. And the reason why I think that day in particular stood out to me, because Blackout Tuesday, for those of you who don't remember, was a day that on Instagram where you posted a black square, and it was a sign of solidarity. And the premise behind it was, you don't engage with anything that is not Black Lives Matter related throughout the day, or just limit your posting. So I participated, but I also wanted to send a message along with said participation. I wanted people to get that. Don't. I think I said in the post, like, don't fall for their narrative. Though you can participate in this, but understand that you showing solidarity to Black Lives Matter is not just within this 2x2 square on your phone, or this single post that you post for this one day. I think in my post I say, because we're going to be Black tomorrow and next week and next forever. And I want you to have the same fervor and the same passion for us next week, next month, and next forever. So I think that day in particular, I had maybe written one before, but that day in particular stood out to me as the day that I was like, okay, this needs to be an ongoing thing, because I think every day I protest, there is a lesson to be learned. And it just so happened on that day, Blackout Tuesday, that was a lesson that I really wanted to bestow to people. And I think people were really receptive to it. And I think a lot of white people in particular took a step back again from that initial form of protest and had to think, will I be as vocal? Will I be as passionate as I am today on Blackout Tuesday, next week, next month, and next forever?
I know, I like that. Oh, it was good. I loved it. You guys should go read it. It's on JLJ Media. You go and find it. It's really good. As you reflect back on those 8 days of protest, what is one thing that you learned about yourself that you didn't know about before that?
That about myself, I'd say that I hold my own biases as well.
Okay.
I prejudge people as well. I think that is a rare thing for a person of color to say.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I can see your reaction, and I say that with complete honesty. But it's wrapped in a much more positive narrative. When we were out protesting, I had never articulated the fact that the little Vietnamese woman who owns a donut shop up the street would be so like fuck yeah, Black Lives Matter. I would never predict that the little white Amy who works at Bank of America, who knows that she is one of the most protected classes in the United States, would put herself in front of me to protect me from the police officer who almost shot me. Well, he did shoot me with a rubber bullet. I would never think that the Korean exchange student who lives across the hall from me, who can barely speak English, would have a Black Lives Matter sign on her window, in which no one sees because I live in the back of the apartment building. So I realized that I hold biases myself. And during that protest, there was such a level of solidarity and such love. And I was so shocked by it, by the diversity of love that I saw, that I even had to take a step outside of myself and be like, whoa, you may carry some biases your damn self. And, there are people out there who will fight for you, who will put their lives on the line for you. And you may be shooting them down because of the way that they look. So I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons that stood out to me of the 8 days that I protested.
Wow, that's very interesting. And so your motivation every day, because you're doing this, you're like, I'm going to go out there every day. So you were just every day you wake up and you're just like, okay, it's time again to do it. Like, was there any days you're like, I can do it? I mean, just because it's an emotional thing to do. The protests, I know it personally, emotional.
To circle back to our generations, my previous generations. I was tired, I was exhausted. I was hungry. I was dehydrated. I had an episode where I fell down I'm looking at my steps now. I fell down my steps because I was too dehydrated. Very few people know that. Yeah, it was I don't know what was going on with me, but I'm fine now. I have a friend who's a resident nurse, and she FaceTimed me and talked me through it. What's the question again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
I was like, oh my God, you fell down. I was saying that every day
that's what threw me off too.
Were there days you wanted to not do it?
Oh yeah,
the motivation.
So again, me retracing my steps on the stairwell kind of threw me off. My motivation again stems generationally. My grandfather was a very important driving force in my life and my heart. He passed away years ago. I'm looking at his history book right now in my bookcase that I have. He was a really, really great man, and he taught me a lot of the things that I know today. He instilled a lot of the passion that I have for Black people and people who look like me and people who don't look like me. And then along the same lines of that generation, I don't have any kids myself. I have 2 nephews. And the entire time I was marching, I kept thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna record this. I'm gonna write an article on it, and in 15 years, when my nephews are in college and having to write a thesis on, the race riots that happened in Los Angeles 2020, they'll be able to call their uncle and say, hey, like, can you tell me what happened? I pulled your articles up in our university's directory. Like, can you elaborate on this? Would you mind coming in and speaking? Like, can you send me? I'm a living primary source, and I would not be doing justice to my grandfather's memory and to my nephew's future if I didn't invest in this moment in time. This is a time where we, given the global pandemic, a lot of us are stuck at home and we have nothing to do but reflect on ourselves. And I feel like we've even too had to change the way we even interpret death as a not even as a Black people, but as a human being. With our death tolls rising upwards of 120,000 plus, and then additionally, as a Black body in America, we have that pressure as well to think about the death that we experience as Black men. So I knew that this was a moment in time where I had the opportunity to sit back and throw myself into something 100% and know that I was honoring my grandfather and, again, solidifying my nephew's understanding of what is happening and what I'm doing to fight for them.
It's amazing. I like that. I do like that. So, now that the protesting is basically kind of over, in LA and stuff, and it's kind of back to the grind a little bit. How has this all informed you as a host? Because that's what you do. You're an actor, host, all this stuff. How are some of the ways it's kind of impacted you in terms of going forward in the, just like in the hosting world, especially?
You know, I think that moving forward, my tolerance for the bullshit is probably going to be at an all-time low. Um,
Right or gone?
I can't, yeah, I can't imagine, you know, throughout all of this, again, I keep saying how like we have time to think about the things that we've done. I've had times to think about the times that I've been silent, aka complicit in discrimination or just wrongdoings that I've seen. And I'm going to change that about myself. So moving forward within my career, I know for a fact, like if I see a description for a role that I'm asked to go out for, and it like ghetto or the phrasing is off, I'm going to say something. If I go out and I have to go report on a story that I know that I shouldn't, like I would never say this, I'm going to say something. If I have a guest on who has a history, who has a checkered history with Black people, bitch, I'm going to say something. I might say something to them on live TV, so I'll put them in their place because I'm trying to get bitches fired. But I think that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. It's really not standing for any injustice. And then moreover, again, to circle back to my conversation about seeing other people in the protests who don't look like me but still stood up for me, I'm going to reciprocate that same love. And if I see, you know, a man using his manlyhood to like put a woman in her place, I'm going to say something. If my Black friends say something about like an Asian woman or something, I'm going to say something because I saw that support, that undeniable like love and support. So I think that I'm going to be taking that with me wherever I go in the future for my vocation. I'm going to speak up more because I know now for a fact that my words won't just fall by the wayside like they have in the past. I think that people are really listening. So I'm going to capitalize on this new attention.
Yeah, it's one of those things for me. I years ago, I said, I'm tired of being tolerated.
Mm-hmm.
Tired of that. I'm tired of being, well, I guess you're okay, or okay, you're one of the good ones, or you're okay. I mean, I'm tired of that kind of pushing me through or allowing me because whatever you feel, not that you really care about me so much as a Black man or my sexual orientation or whatever that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, well, you know, okay, I guess it's fine or whatever. It's like, well, no, I'm tired of that. It's like, I'm
Right.
tired of being dismissed because of it. I'm tired of getting through because of it. It's like, you need to see me for me and all what that is. I mean, I used to always hear when I was younger, I don't think of you as Black. And at first, I thought that was a compliment at first.
Me too.
They see me. They just see me, James Lott Jr. Oh, wait a minute. They think Black is this thing and it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't.
And you're the antithesis of it.
Yes, they don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's when I started speaking up and started saying, no, I don't mind if you see me as Black. Just make sure you don't see me as Black and bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to be colorblind. I am a certain coloring. I don't want you not to see that. I have an African American nose, and I have African American lips. I don't want you to miss any of that. Trust me, it's okay to see it, but don't use it against me. That's the only thing I ask you. It's like I don't want you to use it against me. So I'm learning language. Language is a big thing for me. I have a whole thing about language, and those things do not serve me anymore. And I have a phrase I always say: "This doesn't work for me anymore." I tell it all the time in any situation. No is a great sentence. I love no. No is a great sentence. I can say no at any time to whatever bullshit you're trying to throw on me. I don't have to accept it. I think I'm praying that Black folks come together more and start to repel what people are trying to throw on us. We need to repel it.
I think too that I'm gonna ask you a question actually before I get to that.
Sure, you can ask me a question. Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So do you with this new founded like repelling, what is the catalyst behind that? Is it like for me, for instance, I found that I'm 33, as I said, when I was 15, I would put up with more like BS than I do now. And I feel like, you know, you're not much older than me, but you're older than me. No, not that much older than me. But nonetheless, do you think is it your age that has made you like be like, man, I'm not here for the bullshit no more?
It is. We don't. It's twofold. It's age, but also I know myself. I know more about myself now than I did at 33 or at 43 or at 23. Like if you are fortunate hopefully you're present in your life. If you're present in your life, then you learn the lessons along the way and take them with you. That's if you're fortunate. A lot of folks aren't present in their lives. A lot of folks, I mean, I wasn't always present in my life. I had to learn how to be that way. So if you're present in your life, then all the good, bad, everything that happens, you take it with you and you learn along the way. So when I got to 40, that changed everything. I was like, whatever was cute in my 30s wasn't cute anymore. Whatever it's got, I mean, it's like, it completely just shut down. I was like, I pay my own bills. I pay my own taxes. I've done well for myself. For 40 years, I did pretty good. I made it to 40. Like, I'm a good person deep down. So I deserve to be here. And that's something that I think a lot of Black folks need to hear more, and a lot of gay folks too and trans need to hear that you deserve to be here. And I think I did a show not too long ago with two young Black men that I'm really good friends with. And one of them said that I was a beautiful Black man. And I started to cry on my show. And I was like, why am I crying? I'm like, on the show, I told him, I said, you know what? I've never been told that before.
Wow.
51 years, never been told that before. I mean, I've been told I was beautiful, I was cute, or, whatever, those kind of things they tell you in romantic situations. But I was never told that by another. And he said, and, he's a straight Black man. He's like, I want to show that, we as men, Black men, tell each other that we're beautiful. Remember back in the day when you were a kid, Black was beautiful. That was a big phrase when I was growing up. That we just somehow forgot that somehow. And so he was just like, you're a beautiful Black man, meaning inside and out, that you deserve to be here. And it really touched. See, there's things that I still have from my childhood that are still in there, that I'm still having to purge out. That I'm still having to block the noise. I'm still having to, all the police interactions I've had over the years, I'm having to work through that because it's been 51 years of this. So that little phrase just caught me off guard kind of. It was and really touched me at the same time. And I thought that was a great thing. And again, learning from younger people. I love younger people. I love learning from them. And I think just getting older really does lend itself to caring less. You just do, because you see, the bullshit out there. You know how life is. The problem is, because I'm a very optimistic person, the problem can be we get a little too jaded and a little too salty. So we have to kind of watch that because
get the balance.
Yes, because we know how it is also. Like you said something earlier, it's like, well, but that's how we would think. Well, this is all great and all, but once it go back to normal again, like we've seen it happen over and over and over again. Rodney King before that. I mean, there's things that have been happening since Park 4. These things keep happening every 10, 15 years, or every 5 years at this point. We had Ferguson. Every 5 years, we see everybody get excited, do it, and then, But for me, in terms, back to your question about the tolerance, getting older, I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to be who I am. I am full James Lott Jr., whatever that is. And if you don't like it, or you don't, and it's okay if you don't, it's okay. I have no problem with that. If you don't like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I totally get it. In the last 2 weeks for me, because I've been on a lot of talk shows and web series and Facebook groups talking about race, because I can't be out there because of my immune system, so I couldn't march. But I've gotten a lot of hate. I've gotten so much hate tweets and hate DMs. Oh my goodness. They call me a monkey, go back to Africa, you're an angry Black man, you're a faggot, all these things. They say all these things to me that just and I thought, wow, I mean, none of the stuff was new to me. I work in Hollywood. I get called things all the time. Being after TV, I mean, all the show, I get called names for not liking a certain couple on the show. You didn't like Bo and I was like, it's a show. It's a fictional character, in my opinion. So, but this effect, it drained me a little bit because I'm just trying to tell my story, and which is a story that many Black men my age have gone through. I'm not the voice of Black America at all. But just seeing all of that, but I had to learn that they have their own issues. They're cowards. Of course they call me names. So I can't care about what they're saying. I can't take that on. And I think getting older, if that happened to me at your age or before that, I would have fallen apart. I would have totally fallen apart. But now I'm a little better with it.
I don't know. I think that, I've experienced racism, of course, as as I'm 33 and I'm a Black man in America. Of course I have. I don't know. I think that in this moment, it has made me stronger and made me really more have a bit more perspective on people's hate. I'm not sympathizing with it at all, and I will combat it every chance I get. I will throw you under the fucking bus online. I have a way with words. Don't get it twisted.
Yes.
But I think that now with that mentality, combating racism has gotten a little, I don't want to say easier, because that's like, I feel like that's such a blanket thing to say. I think my point is that, like, maybe having like the camera phones on us all the time makes it easier to spot the racist, I will say. And it makes it much harder for racists to cover up. I told my friend this morning, hands down, racists are some of the most creative people on the planet, because they will wiggle and wobble their way out of anything. They will claim temporary insanity. They will say that there was an evil twin. They will say that's a doppelganger from Sweden who came here just to shit on you. They will say that's a private account. That's not really, like, they will make up anything.
They will.
Some of them even make it to the White House. But but you know, I think that may be why it's easier for me to combat some racists now, because I can see it. But I think the whole internet revolution too it has its good and its bad, because it's goods and its bads, because it is a great way to create solidarity for a community, which is amazing. But it's also a great way to create opportunity for a community, which is terrible. In that it's a great way for us as Black people to stay connected. And I know we often say we're not a monolith, but the internet can be the monolith for us, the vessel for us to speak. But it's also the vessel for racists to speak. And the quiet racist in Nebraska can communicate with the quiet racist that's in New York City, and communicate with a quiet racist who lives in Los Angeles. So it has its goods and it has its perks and its not good parts. But I think that it's opened the eyes a lot to people of how indiscriminate racists are, and that you could literally, you don't know who's behind that screen name. And you know, it could be your neighbor, it could be your daughter, it could be your father, it could be, you know, any of us. So it has its pros and its cons. But I think that now it's much easier to get people fired when they spout off at the mouth, because I'm really good at it. Try me.
So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. I mean, it's still kind of related. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. And thank you for all your service. I think you're doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, another area of life which can be a little crazy is the entertainment world. So you went to school. You went to school for government, all this stuff. Like, then how did I mean, you're natural at it, I can tell, but why entertainment?
Okay, great question.
Why?
So you know, I mean, this sounds like so after school special, so like shooting star, like the more you know, shooting star.
Exactly.
But like, I always wanted to be an entertainer. I always wanted to I know I'm gonna sound very cocky in saying this, but it's the fucking truth.
Okay, tell it.
I know I have this thing.
You do.
I have this X factor where people want to talk to me, and they want to open up, and they want to invest. And I have this thing where, like, you feel like you know me for 15 years and you've met me for like 15 seconds. People open up to me and they engage, and there's something about me that it's a blessing and a curse. I'm like, yo, don't be telling me that kind of shit. Like, we just met, chill. Like, whoa, exactly. I don't even know your blood type. Calm
down. But you do. You have that. You have it.
Thank you. So, you know, I remember I'm actually writing an article on this. Linda Ellerby, she was the host of Nick News.
Yes.
And I remember watching that as a kid and being like, wow, like, you mean you just talk about cool stuff and sit in front of a camera and, like, kids watch you, like, that's all you gotta do? That's dope.
Yeah.
So, you know, I grew up in DC. Both my parents are pretty well established. So I wanted to honor them, but also kind of do my own thing. So I went to school for pre-law, wanting to do entertainment law.
Okay.
Yes. So I went to the University of Maryland. They don't have any pre-professional programs, so you have to fall into a degree. Okay. So I have a degree in government and politics and degree in history, like I said. So I always wanted to do entertainment law. I worked for BET for about 4 or 5 years for the legal department as well. So there was always this, like, yes, I'm honoring my parents by like going down that legal path, but also got the entertainment aspect on the side though.
You made it work. You made it work.
Yeah, I made it work. But as I got deeper into like entertainment law, I realized that it is indeed a legal profession. Like I was doing copyright infringements, I was doing cease and desist, I was doing copyright applications to the Library of Congress. Like I was in there like foreverbeyonce.net. I'm gonna see you with all legal recourse if you don't take down our video. I'm gonna get you, bitch. Like you got me fucked up. Um, so and then so there's that part of it. I talk a lot, so
I love it. Go right ahead.
thank you.
I love it.
So I also, like I said earlier, I have been in restaurants for more than half of my life. So I moved out to LA from DC in 2011.
Okay. Oh wow.
And I've always worked in restaurants, like I said. And when I moved out here to do like comedy. I had residency at the Comedy Store and Laugh Factory. I did the whole circuit there. And I really found that like that part of my stand-up, just before I went into my set, I loved the most. That like little intro part where I would like improv, me like, look guys, I'm stupid. Like
Yeah.
that part before I went into like what I rehearsed was always my favorite part. And I was thinking to myself, like, bro, you already do this. Like you're a server, or you were a server. And it's your job to be charismatic and fresh and like relatable and sell things to people.
Right.
Just swap the customer for the camera. Swap the food for a recording artist that you like. You a TV host. That's all I mean, essentially. I'm like, hey, yo, you gotta get this new Sinead Harnett album. I love it. It's 3 of my favorite songs on there and has 2 secret songs. Like I just basically like that's all I was doing at a table when I would, get the chicken. It's great. It's got 3 secret sauces, and if you get it my way, it's super good. I know the chef. Like like that's essentially how I equate the 2 things.
Oh, I love
So
it.
I use my like natural ability with serving and my like legal aspect I have, and coupled it with my comedy. And I think it's unfair for me to say that like, oh, I just jumped into it and I became like a good host. Like there was work that went behind it. I took classes, with Suzanne Senna, highly recommend that. I currently work at AfterBuzz TV. So I'm putting in the work. I'm out there protesting. I'm getting footage. I'm practicing. I have after shows. I'm a writer as well. So it's always been a passion of mine, but the avenue I took was very peculiar. But I always kind of knew that I would be doing something in entertainment. And I'm just happy that the thing I landed and the thing that stuck was something that I was genuinely passionate about. And that's people, and that's interacting and talking and engaging and like enlightening and motivating, just people. So that's kind of how I fell into TV hosting and how I'm here now.
I can see a lot of me and you in there. I see me in there. I see you in there. Kind of weird. I'm listening to you talking like that. So if I started younger, now I got to the business late. But if I started younger, I feel like that's not kind of how I would be.
Yeah.
I used to be a nurse. So I used to all kinds of stuff, and I got into entertainment. It was always like, Jay, you should be on TV. I'm like, okay, sure. Do you remember the first time you were on the camera, behind the camera, just in front of the camera, like on set? Do you remember?
Yes. The first time I ever did anything on
camera. Tell it.
Well, I have two stories. One is not on camera, but one is the first time I ever did anything in front of the audience.
Okay, that's good.
So,
okay.
When I was in 3rd grade, we put on Mr. Popper's Penguins.
How funny. Okay, yes.
Wait, I can do it. And guess who was Mr. Poppers?
Of course.
Your boy. Probably the first Black Mr. Popper's Penguins that my elementary school had. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to give myself that title because pat on the back.
Probably not far off.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So the first time I ever did anything like theatrical was that. I remember specifically, very quick story. The pants were too big.
Oh.
So we had to tie them on with a string. And the string came undone. So I stood up and my pants fell down. But like everyone was like, "Oh, it's so cute. He's so good. It's perfect. Did you guys plan that?" I was like, "Nah, but your boy's got on-stage skills." And And then I'd say the first time I ever did anything in front of the camera. Now, keep in mind, I did not grow up like this because I know it's gonna sound like I have a stage mom. It did not happen like this
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
But I did a Sears catalog ad
Hey.
back in the day. I was probably like 8 or 9. So I was in I lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia, at Spotsylvania County. I was at the Spotsylvania County Sears catalog.
Okay.
I think maybe in like 1997,
Go on
1988.
Sears. Okay, go on Sears. Okay.
So yeah, that was my first time ever doing anything, and I was like, oh look, that's me. I'm gonna...
Does go ahead.
Really quickly. Okay, this is a cute story.
Please tell me.
Also, again, I did not grow up with a stage mom. I cried because my mom would not let me audition for All That. Remember the show All That on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, no, of course I do. Yeah.
I wanted to be on All That so bad.
That's hilarious.
And I would have been so good on it. I cried for like 4 days because she wouldn't let me audition. It wasn't. It was like we lived in Virginia at the point, and the audition was like in New York. My mom was like, "I'm not taking off 3 days to drive you now. We don't got it like that." So,
the first thing I ever did was I was a hand model back in the '90s.
What?
Hand here. Scottie Pippen, the basketball star at the time.
Yeah.
Like hand apparently, and I was walking down the street in San Francisco where I lived. And this guy out of a warehouse goes, "Hey kid, can you palm a basketball?" I'm like, "What kind of racer?" He goes, $500. I'll be right there. I went right into the in there.
Hell yeah.
Manicure, and they took care of my hand, and then they had me palm a basketball on this thing, and it fit. I've got a big hand, so it worked. And it said for Intel Electronics. I actually have I have it here somewhere, where I was the hand for Scottie Pippen. And
that's awesome.
And there was no social media back then, obviously, at the time. And I remember he sent me a letter, and I have it somewhere too, saying, "James, I'm really proud of our work together." And it was like so funny because we didn't really work together. It's like there's his face and my hand palming the basketball.
That is awesome.
I was a hand model for a while. They kept saying, and I'm left-handed, so they go, don't hurt your left hand. I'm like, but the hand I use for everything.
This is the one that I love.
I love my left hand. So anyway, it's just kind of funny, like one of those weird, like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Then I was bitten. I was like, I want to be a star. That didn't come to like 20 years later. But no, for you, okay, so at AfterBuzz, what exactly are all the things? What shows you doing? What are you doing there?
So I do a lot of I guess like, yeah, well, I am all over the place. I don't really have a specific genre. I don't really, to be honest, I know it's gonna sound kind of unorthodox. I don't watch a lot of TV, to be honest.
Okay.
I have a few shows that a few genres that I just love. I'm a big horror fan, so I did the M. Night Shyamalan show Servant.
I gotta watch that.
It's so good.
Yeah,
I'm also a big like space nerd. I love outer space. I have a space tattoo. That's the only tattoo I have.
Oh, funny.
And so I did the show Lost in Space. I did the show The Circle on Netflix.
Yeah.
I love, I don't love writing, but I am a writer for AfterBuzz as well. Writing is just like turning, like, I mean, I'm really good at it. I'm good at it. And it's turned into a new passion. I know, like, given the I Love You, James series we just talked about, but I think given quarantine and us not being able to go into the studio and do teleprompter work or do news, in the studio, or expressing myself through articles has become like the new thing to do. So I do a lot of articles for them as well.
But you also do stuff on your own. I'm following Instagram. You do a lot of other things. You have just things I guess pop up for you. Like, so you're going out there for auditions. You're trying for. You're doing all kinds of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird too because given the quarantine, it's a bit strange to do auditions. It's been a lot of self tapes, but I've slowed down a bit on my acting, because TV hosting has really taken the front seat, and it was reversed a couple of years ago. But again, you kind of just go with the flow and kind of see what works and what doesn't work. And I don't know, at the end of the day, every avenue kept coming back to TV hosting. So I felt that this was the thing for me, and it was the one thing that I was genuinely passionate about. I've done a bunch of shows for. I worked on Nickelodeon. I worked on Austin is TV, All Up Digital. I have a show on Amazon, a bunch of shows on with BuzzFeed. I worked for BuzzFeed for like 4 years. I have a bunch of content with them as well. And that was all fun and it was all comedy geared. So I was like in my element. But again, TV hosting was always a thing. It was always what I just enjoyed. And it was the interaction with people. So that's been the premise of my like existence the past couple of years.
I'm gonna ask you a question I get asked all the time because I feel like you're similar. They always go, James, your name is James, I can say this to you. James, how do you find all the energy? I get asked that all the time.
Yeah, the internet is a lie. So don't let the post fool you.
Let the smooth taste fool you? Okay, got it.
Yeah, don't let my post be fooling you. Lord knows your boy loves a good nap.
Me too. Okay. I all the time. I love to sleep.
Oh, it's my favorite pastime.
Yeah, I'm saying I say it all the time.
You lose weight and you don't eat and you don't have to talk to nobody. It's great. It's great.
Totally agree.
And you can do it anywhere. You can do it anywhere, and it costs nothing. It's free.
I totally agree, James. I totally agree with that. That's funny.
But no. I think that the energy I've gotten recently has come from just like ready to move on. Yeah. And that I feel like during quarantine, we've had to go through so many changes recently in life. How we interact. Like I'm sure we would love to be in person and do this interview, but given we can't. My AirPods are dying right now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I think that this whole change that we're going through is really motivated me to find like changing myself. And I guess I said a moment ago, I've been in restaurants for many, many, many years, and I made a point to not go back to the restaurant that I was recently employed at, and I was making points.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes making them coins is not worth like the quality of life. So
not all money is good money.
Exactly. Most of it is though. So.
Oh no, trust me, I know. I'm saying, but not all of it. Not all of it. But yes, but I understand what you mean. Yes. I do.
Yeah, I think that's where my motivation comes from. That's what gets me out of bed every day. Is that knowing that we're not going to ever be gifted a moment in time like this again in our lifetimes. I think that's a fair, I hope not. I think that's a pretty fair statement. So my motivation has been to capitalize on this moment as best I can. And that includes doing things that I don't like to do, like writing, but I'm doing it because it's going to make me appear to be a far more well-rounded host, or doing things like protesting. I don't have a job now because we're all in quarantine. So I have a time and the energy to go out and protest. So I think that me understanding that this finite time we have right now is so precious, I'm trying to extend as many arms as possible and grasp this moment in so many ways and embrace it and learn and grow, because when's the next time we're going to have the entire country essentially unemployed at home with nothing to do but think about themselves and think about their place in the world presently? That's true.
We are in very unprecedented times. Very unprecedented. We've never, my whole life's never been through this before. Never. So, I don't even know. It's so strange.
Yeah.
The world, everybody's eyes are looking the same direction. That's what's interesting. All the eyes are looking this way. So, we might as well do something in front of them to make this.
Exactly.
I get it. I could talk to you forever. I literally could talk to you forever.
Yay. Thanks.
Let's come back on another time. But I want to thank you for all your service, and I like the fact that you walk in compassion, and you walk with energy, and you walk with purpose of the village.
Absolutely, that's what I'm here to do.
And now you're stuck. You're not getting rid of me now. Now you're stuck with me. So
I'm with it. I'm happy to come back anytime.
The Jameses are dead. And folks, we're going to do a song together. If you ask my song, we're going to do a song together. I have songs out with some other AfterBuzzers, and you're going to be next. And we're going to do a song.
Okay.
I'm going to work on something.
I'm not much of a singer. I can carry it. Okay, it's a little black secret. Every black person can sing. I can sing a little bit, but
I'm going to showcase you differently. I'm actually going to showcase you differently.
Okay.
I'm going to showcase you in a way that won't hurt your brand. It won't hurt your brand.
Okay, I was thinking, I'm like, what you about to have me do? You about to have me doing this cover spread eagle?
No, that's the third single. So the first single is completely gonna be legit, and I have great producers. But no, I'm gonna showcase you in a way that so it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I'm a good writer. So it's a good spoken word art. I do this for a living. So. But tell them where they can find you. Anything you want to promote, go ahead and please promote it.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram is where I'm most active, to be honest. My Instagram is at Terrell James Maple. It's TerrellJamesMaple, all one word. And also you can find me on Twitter at James Maple Actor. And then in terms of promotion, I do every Tuesday at 7. We do Black Twitter on Black Hollywood Live. Check that out. That is my weekly I Hate Kanye West session because he's a trash bag. Kanye Slavery Was a Choice West is a trash bag. So yeah, you can find me hating on him every Tuesday at 7.
That was like me a few years ago on the Kenya Moore thing. And we met and she hated me because she heard my comments on air and I stand by everything I say.
She heard you, didn't she?
What?
She heard you. She heard you, didn't she? That's all that
She called me
matters.
after Buzz and she gave me the biggest shade and I thought that's beautiful. She confronted me actually and I was like, I stand by what I said. I totally stand by it. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know, that was years ago. Now we mellowed out since then a little bit. And I'm James Lott Jr. You can follow me where all James Lott Juniors are at James Lott Jr. everywhere. I'm not even joking. Follow me on TikTok. I'm a star on there. Follow me on TikTok. I don't know what I'm doing, but apparently I got 3 million views. I don't know what's going on there. So follow me on TikTok. Just be myself, I guess, on there. But anyway, this show is on JLJ Media, which is on YouTube. JLJ Media, like, subscribe. I think it's down there somewhere, over there, somewhere down there. It's like I never remember where it is exactly. Like
I think it's like right there.
I think it's over there.
I think it's right there.
So hit that button though. Be kind to me. Hit the button. And then also on all streaming services like from Deezer to Spotify to Apple, Google, iHeartRadio. This show is everywhere. So go ahead.
It's even on RedTube. I've seen it.
Yeah, it is on RedTube. On RedTube. Not RedTube or Pornhub, any of those. Who knows? Actually, it could be on there. It could be on there. I might not even know. You will appropriate my stuff. Who knows what's out there? That's so funny. He's a comedian. You have to do that. And so go ahead and like, subscribe, follow. Just be kind. Share this interview with anybody who needs to hear this. We had a really important conversation, and my hope is that more generational talking happens. That the different generations from Gen Z to Baby Boomer, we all start talking because that's where change begins when we have honest, open conversations and look out for each other in the village. So please, out there, Black Lives Matter, wear a mask, please wear a mask, and wash your hands.